Hello and welcome to the Cubbears fan report for December the 17th, 2024. And it's Christmas season. And look, I got me a Bears hoodie for Christmas. Now, what do you call your wife's ex-husband when he buys you a Cubs hoodie like this? It says Chicago Bears 1920. That's a reference to the original football team for the NFL. Well, if he's a Cowboys fan, you buy him a Cowboys sweatshirt. But if he's your wife's ex-husband, you call him your friend. And he got me this nice hoodie, and I'm proud of it. And if I forget to put my hat on, I can put the hood on. If it's too cold or windy, I can put the hood on. So I'm excited about that. But I'm not excited about the Bears. The Bears were a comedy of errors last night, losing 30-12 on national TV, Monday Night Football. And the Bears had a chance to come back in that game, but they made some very interesting mistakes. They had Doug Kramer fail to report that he was going to be an eligible receiver. When a lineman reports and his number is in the 60s, the 50s, or the 60s, they are obligated to tell the referee so that the referee can tell the other team, hey, this guy might get the ball. In fact, the guy in Detroit, who was a lineman, scored a touchdown on Sunday, but it was a big play a year before because the Detroit lost the game because their guy did not report. So they checked the replay, and Doug Kramer, who was normally a center, did not report because they watched to see if he walked up to a ref or anything, because there was some controversy about that when Detroit played the year before. He never got close. What's that guy do? The only time he plays in the offensive backfield, he's got a report. So how does he forget that? And they were asking Coach Brown, whose job is it to tell him? He said, I thought he knew to do that, but I couldn't see if he did. You shouldn't have to remind a guy when his only job is to go out there and say, hey, I'm in the game. That should not be something you have to remind him of. So the question will be, will he be cut for his stupidity today? Because some people are saying, hey, if you want a team to be accountable, you got to cut these guys when they do that. In any case, the Bears lost. And also to talk about some poor offensive linemen is Karan Amagaji, who was the Bears, I think, 3rd or 4th round pick. He was drafted from Yale. He looks like a big guy, and I think he's got a lot of potential. But the Bears don't need potential. They need protection for Caleb Williams. They did not need to go with potential. They did not need Rome Odunze. They needed offensive line help. I like Rome Odunze. The Bears got him, but I don't think he was the best choice. In any case, the Bears had to put up with Karan Amagaji penalties, and he acted like a revolving door, letting defensive ends come by and sack Caleb Williams from the blind side. He was not your blind side guy that you really want to have in there, because luckily they did not break his arm. I've been hit like that from the back when I played quarterback in Guam. I had my arm up and I got hit on my arm. I thought I broke my arm. I couldn't throw a football for 2 weeks. It hurt so bad. So I'm amazed that they're going to be able to play Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams still had another game without an interception. I don't know how many attempts that is. He threw 18 times yesterday, and he was 18 for 31, 191 yards, 1 touchdown. And he probably had a pretty good passer rating, and he's breaking records for rookies not throwing interceptions. But sometimes you got to get rid of the ball. He holds the ball too long, and sometimes you got to take a chance so you can advance the ball. Other statistics is DJ Moore had 8 catches for 46 yards, 3 rushes for 24. He looked good on the ground. Keenan Allen had 6 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. He made a catch that looked like this. And then he was falling out of bounds, kept his feet in. It's an incredible catch. One of the best two-handed catches I've ever seen in my life. And then I've seen some better one-handed catches. DeAndre Swift had 19 rushes for 79 yards. But the Bears found ways to miss scoring opportunities. They went for it on 4th down. and they could have settled for a couple field goals. And then they had that touchdown, and Doug Kramer didn't report, and that took a touchdown off the board. If he scores, it's 13-7 early in the second half, and the Bears have a chance to get in there. The Bears had some really good plays otherwise. I was impressed with Tariq Stevenson. Got an interception in the closing minutes of the first half. And he's had 2 key turnovers to stop the bleeding, so to speak, when the other team was dominant against Detroit and also against the Vikings. But the Bears can't score points in the first half. 3 straight games, no points in the first half. I'm not impressed with Thomas Brown, and he has nothing to say. He's just like, well, we just didn't do a good enough job. Well, you better get him to do a good enough job. People are getting opportunities like Kiran Amagaji and Thomas Brown. You're not showing me anything. But who else are we going to blame for this? Let's talk about Ryan Poles. A lot of people are thinking Ryan Poles is the problem. Ryan Poles had Matt Eberflus foisted upon him. Eberflus was a great coordinator, very good defensive coordinator, and the Bears are clearly missing him on the defense. But Poles was not really given a choice. He flew off the plane and said, and he was told, "Here's your new coach," and he had to go with it. But he's had other decisions. Luke Getsy was not a good choice. Shane Waldron was not a good choice. Several defensive coordinators, assistants had to be fired from the team over the first couple years. So it's been a revolving door at various coaching positions under Ryan Poles. And then the Bears have this terrible history because they fired Lovie Smith after a 10-win season. How many 10-win seasons have the Bears had since then? They may have had a few under Matt Nagy. And then the Bears hired Mark Trestman, who started off promisingly in his first season as the Bears' offense was a bit more functional. But the league figured him out. He couldn't come up with anything new. And then they took John Fox. And the interesting thing about John Fox is he was not effective, but they drafted Mitch Trubisky and told John Fox, you got to make it or break it. You don't put a guy in a make it or break it situation with a rookie quarterback. Trubisky was not a good draft choice. It has nothing to do with Ryan Poles. Matt Nagy did take him to the playoffs in 2018 and 2020 with Mitch Trubisky, but he made some big mistakes too. Matt Nagy did not play the starters in the preseason in 2019, and they fired him after the 21 season. So then they gave then they drafted Justin Fields in 21 and then fired Matt Nagy after that year. And Matt Eberflus, it's interesting they still hired a guy named Matt. I wonder if they're going to hire a guy named Matt now. We don't have any big prospects named Matt coming down the pipe. But when Eberflus got hired, he was given Justin Fields, and the Bears traded away the best defensive players. And it was like a rebuild. The Bears had the worst record in the league, but they were happy because they had their quarterback. Only the second time they won the first pick in the draft, it wasn't their fault. So they were built to play the playoffs. The only thing they really needed to do is build that defensive line and shore up the defense. They didn't do it. They got a hold of 3 good wide receivers, but what they needed was offensive line help, and everybody agrees they're going to need it now. So the question is, why didn't Poles, who's a lineman, when he was trying to get in the NFL and playing at Boston College, why didn't he build the offensive line? You can't win. You can't go to the Super Bowl unless you have offensive line. But the Bears' first draft choice, Caleb Williams, is running for his life, and he had a sack fumble yesterday. These are the failures of Ryan Poles. So Ryan Poles has not done great, although he did a great job of fleecing Carolina and getting all those draft choices. And the Bears are in a position to really build this team, not needing a quarterback. They've got the best quarterback and the best draft choices. That's a nice combination to have. But the history is not great. So who are we going to get this year? A lot of people think Mike Vrabel. They need a guy who's a character builder, a leader of men. Vrabel's a defensive-minded coach, but he did well with Tennessee. His struggles at Tennessee related to the fact that they couldn't keep a quarterback healthy. He knew how to build the team. He knew how to get the guys to play, and he didn't take crap from players who weren't competent. And that's the problem the Bears have now. They have a problem with guys who are lackadaisical and not well choiced. I think it's a personnel issue. The key personnel issue is the offensive line, and we need to fix that. So the next coach, is it also going to be Ben Johnson? Some people say draft an offensive-minded coach, and then if he's successful, he won't leave. If you draft Mike Vrabel and then you are successful on offense, you're going to lose your offensive coordinator. So that's a tough question. But Mike Ditka was a disciplinarian, a leader of men. I liked what he did with a lot of prospects later in the later round draft choices like Richard Dent and guys like that, Steve McMichael. And even though he wasn't a defensive guy, he knew how to motivate people and yell at people. And if they had a bad game, he'd go up and say, "I was embarrassed today." I remember the Bears lost, I think, to New Orleans or somebody. He said, "I was embarrassed," and he was all about it. He didn't sugarcoat it. So that's the way I think it should be. I think Mike Vrabel would be my candidate, but in lieu of that, I think the next guy should be Ben Johnson. And the Bears need to step up and just get them a coach. I have reservations about hiring coordinators. Matt Eberflus was a coordinator. I think he's a good coordinator. The Bears' defense has suffered since he left. But the Bears need a leader, a guy who can be a chief executive officer. Not everybody who's a coordinator is going to make that. But we can't say for sure. Because O'Connell at Minnesota is doing a great job, and he's an offensive guy. And everybody's wondering why the Bears didn't take him. In any case, the Bears, I have another type of bear called a cub. And the Cubs made a big trade. That's why I got my Cubs hat on. Remember, it's Cub Bears. The good news about the Bears' struggles is that the season's almost over and baseball's around the corner. And the Cubs made a big trade. They traded for Kyle Tucker, right fielder for Houston Astros, a left-handed hitter, and they traded Isaac Paredes, who's a dead pull right-handed hitter, which will play well in Houston because he will launch the ball over that short left field wall. And they gave up Hayden Wesneski and Cam Smith. Cam Smith was the first-round draft choice out of Florida State, right-handed hitter. Hayden Wesneski had great stuff, but he just couldn't get people out. He would lay the ball in there. He was too fat on his pitches. And what they're going to do is put Kyle Tucker in right field, and Seiya Suzuki is probably going to be mostly a designated hitter or fill-in infielder. Cody Bellinger will be in that lineup. All the Bears got to do, or the Cubs, all the Cubs got to do is shore up that bullpen. They failed to do it last year. That was a failure on management and general managers. And if the Cubs can't do it, we're going to be changing general managers all over the place. I'd like to see Ryan Poles get the choices correct because he hasn't done a great job. And if he can't get it together this offseason, he'll be gone too. But at least we'll start brand new with a new general manager. And it won't have to be a total rebuild. This is the Cubbears Fan Report. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Support my sponsor, Robin Hood Brewery in Iuka, Mississippi. It's a little bit cold, so I haven't been drinking as much beer. But like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.